Hey, welcome back to Hoosier Helpers. Last week you saw us tilling in the garden. We basically put down gypsum, we put down triple 13 fertilizer, we put down some peat moss in our newest area of the garden. We tilled all that in and we got it fairly mellow. Today we're going to be working on planting the green beans first. So I've got those in the planter, and then we're going to be planting two different varieties of sweet corn, which hopefully we're going to also have enough time to get the tomatoes in the ground and the peppers, as well as the watermelon and cucumber plants. So essentially what we're going to do is we're going to come down here to the end of the garden and we are going to lay off so much land that's going to be held in reserve for cucumbers and the watermelon vines. That's the poorest of the soil that we have as far as mellowness. It's also the most uneven, so I don't necessarily want to be planting row crops. This year we're going to plant the beans on the far side and then the corn, because I think what would be better is if we get more direct sunlight on those green beans as the corn gets taller. With the way we had it, the corn was basically shading the first row of green beans. So we're going to flip-flop them. It'd also be good to move the corn to a little bit different area and give it a little bit better soil types. Last year it was in more of the poor soil. So with that, hang out with me today as I measure off this. Thanks, bye. So the first thing I'm going to be doing here is I'm going to be putting a stake in where I see roughly it looks square, and then I'm going to square it with another stake over here so that we have something to measure off of. Mainly aiming to be square with the garden if the ends aren't quite square. Okay. Then I know I'm going to need at least 10 foot, but probably closer to 15 before we plant our first row of beans. Well, 10 feet might be enough for vining plants. So that'll be our first row. The nice thing about using flags is you can drive over them and it won't tear up anything. So I want to be pretty careful with this first row because it's going to set how straight the rest of my rows are. So I'm actually over on my neighbor's yard here, getting myself lined up with those two flags so that I'm starting in square with them, not trying to correct after the fact. Our rows aren't very long here, so every bed counts. Okay. Next, what I'm going to do is I'm going to get the planter to have the seed dropping. For some reason my drive isn't working, so I gotta check that. It's jumped off the chain. Gotta jump back on. Cover back on it. Dropping seed. Lower down. Drive toward my other flag. Could back up, but I'm going to go ahead and drive around because I think I'll get square and have a straighter line. tire track. Drop the planter. Planted of green beans. This one, so we planted probably a little too far apart. This one I'm going to hug the inside tire track, and we'll do the same with the corn. Otherwise we're going to run out of garden. Got all the beans planted and I've switched over to corn. So we're going to go through and plant about 8 rows of corn is what I'm hoping. So I got to get the planter primed. Okay, you can go inside. Traveling along and I'm listening for clicks. I can get one more row in before I have to back in to do. This is our 5th row of corn. One more row. I was going to plant 2 varieties and I've changed my mind. Rows of corn, and I think one more. We'll leave the rest of the garden for the rest of the plants. So with that, we've got 4 rows of green beans, which would be more than enough. Last year we had 2 and it was plenty. This year we put in 7 rows of sweet corn. Last year we put in 6. A few more would have been nice because we didn't have enough to actually put up. It was all eaten. We did end up wasting some because toward the end of the year, we didn't have enough ready at any one time to put up a bunch, so it was always just roasting ears. So that was partly because we put 2 different varieties in, and they had about a 20-day difference in readiness. So this will get us a good stand, and then we could potentially put in where the green beans are a later crop if we wanted a fall crop. So next up, we are going to be working on the tomatoes, the peppers, and the cucumbers and all that good stuff. So stay tuned. So what we have here is 17 different tomato plants. Some of them are more for slicers or for making sauces and salsas. Some of them are better for salads. So we've got some grape type tomatoes and some beefsteak. We got some yellow tomatoes that are more for salads and stuff that are extra sweet. And we also have a variety of different peppers. So this is a 4-pack of pimento. I've got several of those because we like roasting the pimento peppers and canning them. Then I've got some red chilies, which are basically a red jalapeno. And then I've got some golden wonders, which are a bell pepper. And then we've got a 4-pack of cucumbers and a 4-pack of watermelon, which we won't plant all of the 4-pack of watermelon. I'll probably put in maybe 3 different little hills and then 2 hills of the cucumbers. That'll be enough cucumbers for us. But most of the tomatoes will go in, and all the peppers will go in. So there we go. So since we laid out 10 feet before our first row of green beans, I'm gonna measure back 5 foot from our original stake post, and that'll be our line for our cucumbers and watermelons. Like I said, I want them on this side. It's the poorest ground. That way they can vine out over this cloddy soil, and they'll do really well over here. So we shouldn't have any problem. And then to make a line, what I'm going to do is use my steel rods at the flags and just use the tape measure so I don't have to go get a piece of string. It'll be fine for what we need. So I'm going to go for the healthiest looking plants of these and make sure there's only 1 plant per spot. All right, that should do the watermelons and the cucumbers. All right, so every 3 feet, I'm gonna mark out where a row should be. So 3 feet. 6 feet, 9 feet, and basically here at the end, 24 foot. Now for tomatoes, I usually plant on a 3-foot grid. So I'll hook my tape onto the flags and just go back and forth, putting a flag every 3 feet. All right, so there you can see my grid pattern that I've laid out for the tomatoes and the peppers. They're all on 3-foot squares, so we should be able to get those planted here pretty quick. These are big.
What tomatoes kind of sick?
Yeah, because they need to be in the ground. All right, we're gonna go for this variety next.
That's what we can do. So how you do it?
Let me show you. First thing we gotta do is we gotta dig a hole.
Okay. I do.
No, I'm gonna show you how to do this.
Okay. I remember last. I can help you. I remember last.
No, Gigi, no. You gotta
I was helping you. You remember last time I make it That's a good enough.
Yeah.
You remember I get in trouble? I remember that.
Yeah.
You remember that?
Gigi, you're filling in our hole.
I was making
So then we got to break off the lowest branches.
I was making this size nice and flat.
No, we don't want it nice and flat. We want it bottom. And you put in a little bit of dirt real gently.
Gonna pat it.
Just, yep, gently, not hard. Remember, it's a baby plant.
Has a baby tomato. It's the same as baby duckling.
All right, we're gonna go to the next flag.
Okay.
So one thing I was always told, as soon as you plant your tomatoes, get your cages around them. Otherwise you might forget it, or they might get too big where you can't slip them on. So I'm gonna start doing that now.
That was in that. Now that was in there. Now that was in that cage. Is a plant cage.
Tomato cage. Water the tomatoes.
Where?
Each plant. On the plant. No, give them a good drink.
Here you go. Here you go. You want it? Here you go. Here you go your drink. Goodbye. 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 Wait, this one too got a cage.
Yep, these are peppers. They don't have tomato cages. So that's a wrap. The only thing we have left is one more row of spots. And I'm probably gonna go get some bell peppers or something to go in that space. But I didn't know how many spaces I'd end up having. So we're just gonna go with what we got and then get another 6 plants of something. So thanks, and I hope you enjoyed it. Please remember to hit like and subscribe. Have a good one. Bye.